Hey guys, welcome to Rosie's Dessert Spot. In this tutorial I'll be demonstrating how to create this vegan chocolate cake with vegan frosting. To create the cake I have some plain flour, caster sugar, cocoa powder, baking soda and salt, so my dry ingredients. The ingredient amounts will be in the description box below for you guys as well for easy access. Sift all those together into your mixing bowl and then in a separate container mix all the wet ingredients, being your vegetable oil, your water, vanilla, and your apple cider vinegar, or you could use just regular white vinegar as well. That's there to activate the baking soda and make your cake nice and fluffy. Mix the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients with a paddle attachment and mix until it's just combined and everything has dissolved well with the liquid, so just like that. And I poured mine into two 5-inch tins and then two 4-inch tins as well. I use the 4-inch tins for my family and these ones here were for the tutorial. Bake them off at 180 degrees for about 50 minutes. Check on them and then if they need more time, apply another 5 minutes on the clock. Once they've cooled down, wrap them and pop them into the fridge for use the next day. To make the buttercream, I have vegetable shortening. I like to use Solite or Crisco. Beat until it's nice and smooth and then add in your icing sugar. I add mine in 3 batches, so I let it combine completely. I whip it till it's nice and fluffy, and then I add in the rest of the icing sugar and so on. Add in your soy milk and your vanilla extract and beat that through. You should get something that looks a little bit like this. Now that we have our frosting and our cake baked, start assembling your cake. So I'm leveling it off at the very top and you can see what it looks like on the inside. It's a beautiful moist cake, but it is really stable under fondant and buttercream too. Cut your cakes in half and stick them onto an 8-inch cake board with some of that buttercream. Fill in as you normally would. And keep building on those layers. My cakes are always about 5.5 inches tall. I like to use 3-inch tall cake tins when I bake my cakes, and I use 2 cakes to build 1 cake. Create a thin layer of frosting all around the cake, trapping any crumbs, and if you are going to leave your cake with a buttercream finish, it's usually a good idea to create a thicker crumb coat so that the cake color doesn't show through the final decoration. I'm using my extra tall bench scraper to scrape off the excess and smooth it down, and then taking a spatula to pull back that extra lip of frosting at the top. Into the fridge she goes for at least 20 minutes to firm up, and then we add on our last layer of frosting. This is going to be much thicker than the crumb coat, and don't be too alarmed by how much buttercream you have to add. You will be taking it off with your bench scraper again. So go around till it's nice and smooth. Because I am going to texture this, I'm not going to worry too much about how neat this is. Without removing the lip, important, start swiping towards yourself with the spatula, turning your turntable constantly to get an even finish. And I don't know if you can tell here, but the pressure I'm adding is purely on the very last 2 centimeters or so of the spatula. I've got some blue and purple frosting on the very tip. And I'm swiping it towards the very bottom, making sure that the spatula touches the cake board and I swipe up towards myself. You can go over a couple of times to make sure the color intensity is nice and dark and vibrant. Clear up your cake board and then create a pattern at the very top. I've started with my spatula in the center of the cake. As I turn my turntable, I bring the spatula closer and closer towards me, and that way you get further out from the center of the cake. Add on your fresh fruit. I've used blueberries here. And some greenery. I've also used carnation petals, so make sure to wash your flour first, break off the petals and just decorate as you like. Edible gold druggies look really good on this, especially at the bottom to help the blue pop as well, so you have a bit more of a contrast. And you're done. And there we finally have a vegan chocolate cake recipe with a vegan frosting to go with it. I used Solite. If you don't have Solite, you can use Crisco instead. I know some people use Nuttelex and have found success with that as well. Me personally, I cannot deal with Nuttelex. I feel like it doesn't create a nice stiff frosting. It always ends up being a little bit soft and it performs terribly in warm conditions.
Man, I had a vegan friend and I made 2 cakes for her little kids. It was the middle of spring. I drove 2 hours. By the time I got there, the cakes had smushed up against the box because they just went everywhere. The frosting melted, just terrible, terrible, terrible. Vegetable shortening, on the other hand, is very resistant to heat. So if you're traveling long distance and it's a warm day, I would even skip on the buttercream and just go straight to the vegetable shortening based buttercream instead. That's it from me. I hope you guys like the tutorial and give it a go. If you do, please tag me, #Rosie'sDessertSpot, so I can see what you guys are coming up with as well. Don't forget to subscribe and I'll catch you guys again next week. Ciao for now.